Sam Yarnell will be by to hang out with us, talk about the NBA playoffs, which we'll get to here in just a few minutes in the big story. Also, get into it on the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, Eastern and Western Conference Finals. The Golden Knights are one win away from another trip to a Stanley Cup final against an Avalanche team that was pretty heavily favored in that series. Pretty remarkable what has transpired there. And another incredible comeback from the Golden Knights taking place on Sunday afternoon, as it would be here in Las Vegas. So we'll get to that coming up a little later on as well. Some football and odds and ends, some NASCAR to talk about as well. Our friend Dr. Ben Wedro, former recently retired physician, will join us to talk about Kyle Busch's passing, sepsis, pneumonia, what people need to know and understand about what happened to Kyle Busch, and is it something that the everyday person is sort of susceptible to? We'll get into the ins and outs of that tragic story out of the world of NASCAR, as well as a winner at the Coca-Cola 600, a very unlikely winner at the Coca-Cola 600. We'll get to that too. But we start things out, as we always do, on this Monday edition of the show, this Memorial Day edition of the show, honoring all of those that have given the ultimate sacrifice to our country. It is time for the big story. And the big story today is the NBA playoffs, which continue to play themselves out. And look, I put this up in a post yesterday, and I'll say it again. You're watching the best player in the world right now, and it's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a great player. He's an MVP twice in a row. But the best player in the world right now is that guy, Victor Wembanyama. Hitting half-court threes, 33 points, just dominating every minute he was on the floor for the Spurs as they get the blowout win over the Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday night to even that series at 2 games apiece. Remember, this is a juggernaut that we're talking about in the Thunder. Remember, everybody's going to tell you that. Remember when I asked a question in one of our SportsWrap shorts recently about, how big the return of Jalen Williams would be for the Thunder? And people were like, they don't even need him. They won without him in the opening 2 rounds and blah, blah, blah. Now you're seeing how important Jalen Williams is. When you're talking about margins that are this narrow in a series between the Thunder and the Spurs, missing Jalen Williams could be the difference between the Thunder advancing to the NBA Finals and not advancing to the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, Spurs are getting healthy at the right time. They got De'Aaron Fox back. Dylan Harper has been able to give them some minutes despite the injury that he's been dealing with. And then there's Wemby, who just continues to shine, who is, getting this huge showcase for an audience that may not have been plugged into the NBA this year. I don't know if they win the series. I do know we're going to see these two teams squaring off in some way, shape, or form in the playoffs for many seasons to come. That is a great thing for the National Basketball Association. To the Knicks, they are 1 win away from a trip to the NBA Finals. Let's just say it. They're going to the NBA Finals. No team has ever come back from down 3-0 in the NBA playoffs. The Cavaliers are not going to be the first team. I think we all know that by now. One of the things I addressed this weekend with SportsWrap Shorts was all this excitement and how people like to sort of bang on the Knicks and their fans for the fact that they are this excited with an opportunity to go to the NBA Finals. Not that they've won an NBA championship, because they haven't in 53 years. Just the opportunity to be in these NBA Finals has Knicks fans going gaga right now. And you have to be a Knicks fan to understand why that is. There's a Patrick Ewing basketball above my head every day that's here on the show. A lot of people say sometimes it looks like the basketball is growing out of my head. I assure you it is not. Patrick Ewing was my favorite player growing up. I got to watch him try to lead the Knicks to an NBA championship in 1994. He got hurt in 1999 when the Knicks lost to the Spurs, when the Spurs, interestingly enough, won their first NBA championship. And it was devastating for me that I didn't get to see the Knicks win that title in 94 when John Starks absolutely fell apart in Game 7. We love John Starks, but that was not his greatest moment as an NBA player. And then in 99, when Ewing gets hurt, and the Spurs wind up being the Knicks 4-1 in that NBA final. But you have to be a Knicks fan to understand, it's been 2 generations that have not seen the Knicks win an NBA championship. There is such a hunger, a starvation, if you will, amongst that Knicks fan base, this Knicks fan base, to see this team win a championship. And there were some down years, here over the last decade or so. A lot of people questioned whether James Dolan was the right person to even own this franchise anymore. A lot of people were wishing he'd sell the franchise. Then he kind of took a step back, and then he, has Tom Thibodeau, fires Tom Thibodeau, brings in Mike Brown. Nobody's sure if Mike Brown's the right guy to sort of lead this franchise. Now the Knicks have won 10 games in a row. They haven't lost in a month. They're beating teams in unprecedented fashion in terms of the margin of victory. And they're on their way to the NBA Finals. And a lot of people are wondering if this is all for real. Is this a product of the Eastern Conference? Is it not? We're going to find out in short order, because either the Spurs or the Thunder are going to come out of the West. And both of those teams are going to bring formidable challenges against the Knicks. So we'll find out the answer to that soon enough in the form of the NBA Finals. One last thing. Ticket prices. You want to go to a Knicks NBA Finals game and sit courtside? A couple of tickets just sold for $500,000. If you've got that laying in your couch cushion, give me a call. Or go to see the Knicks in Game 1 or Game 2 or Game 3, as it would be. Game 3 of the NBA Finals. There you go. That's the ticket prices. The get-in price right now is like $3,500 for nosebleed seats at Madison Square Garden. Good luck if you want to go see the Knicks in the playoffs. I've been lucky enough to see Yankees in the World Series, the Yankees in the World Series at Yankee Stadium, when they lost to the Marlins, interestingly enough. I will not be going to see the Knicks play either the Spurs or the Thunder, though, in the NBA Finals. I can promise you that. Speaking of the NBA Finals, we'll continue that conversation. Sam Yarnell is here. We'll get into it with him on the Western Conference Finals and a whole bunch more. Sports Wrap continues on this Memorial Day. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. On this Memorial Day, let's say hello to Sam Yarnell. Talk some hoops with him. We'll get to the hockey in 10 minutes. Wow. That has had its own wild story to it. And I don't mean the Minnesota Wild. All right, Sam. Wemby goes for 33. Spurs take care of business in Game 4 after dropping Game 3. Last couple of games have been a little less competitive in terms of the final score. But, I mean, watching these two teams go toe-to-toe, first of all, if you're a Knicks fan, you love it because they're going to go 6 or 7 now. And you're going to be fully rested, sitting there waiting for one of these teams to come through this 15-round heavyweight fight. They still do 15 rounds anymore? I don't think so. Wemby was just fantastic again last night. And I tweeted this out after he hit his 3 to end the first half. He's the best player in the world. I mean, and he hasn't even recognized his full potential yet. This is the best player in the world. When you watch him do all the things he can do and the way he impacts a game, once he figures it out, and this is crazy to say that this is still a guy that's figuring it out, he's going to be the best player in the world. I don't know how long he'll be the best player in the world because injuries are going to play a factor, availability and being able to stay on the court, how long he decides he wants to play the game before he decides to go become, a monk somewhere. This guy is just amazing to watch. They can't put him on TV enough for me.
I agree with you. In terms of them not being able to put him on TV enough for me.
Yeah.
My reaction, Jason, to you saying he's the best player in the world right now is quite simple, honestly. Man, LeBron James been out of the playoffs too long if people are starting to say this. LeBron James been out of the playoffs too long if people are starting to say that someone else is the greatest player in basketball right now. No, but watching Victor Wembanyama in this series, I am 100% with you. Like, he is on his way. Everything you said is true, right? Everything works out in his favor. Yep. This guy is well on his way to being the best player in basketball, and I don't even think it's particularly close. He's going to wash out Nikola Jokic, and that's a hard thing to do because Nikola Jokic, like we've been saying all season, even especially this year, maybe the most underrated player in basketball, which is so crazy to think about.
What's also nuts, by the way? I'm just watching the highlights. Stephon Castle, there was talk when they got the Aaron Fox that they were going to trade away Stephon Castle. Thank God nobody listens to the fans or the media in that idea, because these two side by side for the next decade are going to be wonderful to watch. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it will be. It will be very fun to watch in San Antonio. I do think that, especially in Game 4, that was a game the Spurs were supposed to win, needed to win, and did win, right? They were the healthier team. They've been the healthier team this entire series. And when you are the healthier team and you also are the team with Victor Wembanyama, you don't really have an excuse to lose. I don't care who it is, but when you have had the injury luck in the series and you have Victor Wembanyama, right? If you didn't have the injury luck and had with Victor Wembanyama, there's an excuse that could be made because, we know Wemby's history with injury. We know the other members of that team's history with injury. The San Antonio Spurs, and I think barring some very unforeseen circumstance, the San Antonio Spurs are going to be the healthier team throughout the duration of this series.
Oh, I see.
And when you have Victor Wembanyama, it's hard to look at that team right now in what has turned into a 3-game series with the health advantage that they have and say, they should probably win this series at this point.
Yeah, Jalen Williams being hurt has certainly been a factor
killing
here.
Him.
Can I also say this, though? Can I also say this? Chet Holmgren gets a pass way too easily. Chet Holmgren, if you watch Chet Holmgren's a really talented player. He's not Wemby good, but Chet Holmgren's a really talented big with special skills at that position. And I feel like he gets way too much of a pass for, a guy, they always love talking to him when he has a nice game in the post game and he'll give a good quote and all that stuff. Chet Holmgren's got to be better. He's got to do more to help out SGA in this series, who, by the way, and I'll tell you the other part about the SGA thing that's been interesting, watching the way this series has been officiated. Yeah, there have been moments where you get the phantom foul calls on SGA that drive people nuts. But by and large, he's getting bumped around and the officials are letting it happen. And and you're not seeing as many calls that he gets during the regular season. And frankly, over the last 3 games of this series, if you assume it goes 7, Sam, that's going to be everything as to whether or not the Spurs win this series or not, is how tightly guarded the officiating is when it comes to SGA. Because if he ain't getting those free throws, it's an enormous difference in the flow of the basketball game.
Yeah, so the NBA is going to have to do something about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I get it. He's fun to watch sometimes, and he's won a championship at this point. Your point about Chet is not forgotten, by the way. You are exactly right. So, my assumption at this point is when push comes to shove, as it will here in the very near future for Oklahoma City, whether it be this summer or next summer, feels like Chet is going to be the odd man out, especially with his performances this playoffs, especially with Victor Wembanyama in the same conference. We got to give the shout Tom Haberstroh over the weekend. One of the most important basketball articles, I think a lot of people would argue, over the last 10 years with Yahoo. If you missed it, he went into the analytics. He went back and watched basically this entire season, but especially this entire playoffs worth of the flopping from SGA, and it's abhorrent. It's unacceptable. It's going to turn people away from the National Basketball Association. I'll be honest, Jason, I mean, this is a bit, to a point that I do it as a bit on the show, but it actually happened last night. I had the split screen up for both the hockey and the basketball. It was like the second quarter for the basketball. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went up for an 18-foot jumper. Devin Vassell missed contacting him all together. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fell as he shot the jumper. Like, it's so bad for basketball.
Yeah.
Someone has to do something about it. It's just a bad watch. I turned the game off because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night. I turned the game off because I was watching the NBA MVP last night, Jason. It's that bad in basketball right now.
I get it. And again, the Knicks will be awaiting whoever comes out of this series. They're on their way to a sweep of the Cavaliers. Hey, but don't tell that to Kenny Atkinson, Sam Yarnell, because he'll tell you the analytics say the Cavaliers have won 2 of the first 3 games of this series. Take that and put it to bed with you tonight. It's going to make you feel a lot better if you're a Cavaliers fan after you're going home in a sweep in the conference finals, Sam.
It's like the Josh Hart quote from a couple of nights ago. I think analytics has just kind of taken over sports a little bit. At some point, just shut up and watch the game. And someone needs to share that with Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, it's not been his finest moment as an NBA head coach. We got the hockey to get to. You heard Sam mention it. Let's talk about the Golden Knights and the Avalanche. We'll do that next. Welcome back to the show on this Memorial Day. We don't take no stinking holiday off. And Memorial Day it's such a big sports day, you can't do it. And there was so much going on this weekend, I just could not take Monday off. I thought about it. Taking a lot of days off lately. Too many for my liking. All right. Coming up in 10 minutes, Dr. Ben Wedro, retired ER doctor that I've always leaned on over the years when it comes to talking about big stories and medicine, and those two things colliding in the Kyle Busch story is obviously a big part of that. Pneumonia, sepsis, taking his life at the age of 41. How does it happen? Dr. Ben Wedro, former ER doc, just recently retired ER doc, will help me with that. Sam Yarnell, the Golden Knights are 1 win away from a Stanley Cup final, and I'm going to take a victory lap because I said maybe 2 weeks ago when they were going at like 9 or 10 to 1 to win the whole thing, that was the bet. That was the only bet to me that was worth making when it came to picking a Stanley Cup champion, because they had the most favorable and the most value going into the conference semifinals, and now they are just 1 win away after wiping out a 3-goal deficit. Vegas was nuts yesterday. The traffic in the city, people trying to get to that game here on the Strip in Vegas was insane. We were off having, oh God, you're gonna crush me for this. I was having high tea yesterday. Yes, I know. We had friends visiting from out of town.
Can't say what I want to on there.
Really? Is it that bad? I was having high tea yesterday, and we had a window seat at the top of the Waldorf Astoria. I know. This is so not a me story, because I am not this guy. I am not Waldorf Astoria window seat guy. But we were looking down on the Strip, and the line of cars trying to get into the Aria to park to get to T-Mobile Arena to see the game was insane. And they must have liked what they saw if they decided to hang around, because the Golden Knights win. They're 1 win away from a Stanley Cup final. And it could be a Stanley Cup final, Sam, against the Montreal Canadiens because of what they're doing against the Hurricanes right now. But let's focus on the Golden Knights and what they've done here in pushing the Avalanche to the brink here, Sam.
Yeah, I hope all those people who were parking at the Aria stayed, because I'll tell you, after the first period, I think a lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans actually hit the exits, which is a crazy thing to think
slot
about.
Machines, baby.
5-3.
Yep.
But yeah, this game was out. The Avalanche are dead.
Crazy.
They needed to win tonight, or they needed to win on Sunday night for any sort of a shot. They're dead. I mean, Nathan McKinnon shatters his kneecap. There's not a whole lot you can do. You're the best player on your team, shatters his freaking kneecap. There's not a whole heck of a lot. And then the craziest thing throughout the entire course of that game was that he continued to try to play through it, which it was wild and the most hockey guy thing of all time. But you knew when that injury happened, when I think they still had the lead, actually, at the point that injury happened, you knew that was kind of the end of it in a game that they needed to win, to see that guy go down. But hey, Jason, we can't talk about the Vegas Golden Knights without talking about, Carter Hart has been absolutely phenomenal this series. I mean, he has been a brick, house this series between the pipes for the Vegas Golden Knights. It has been truly impressive to watch. I mean, hey, they've got it all, right? And I know they've got it all in terms of players, right? They may not have it all in terms of coaching, but they definitely have it all in terms of players. And it seems like they're all starting to rally around each other. And a lot of guys with a lot of postseason experience and a couple of guys still trying to get over that hump for the first time, right? You got Jack Eichel, who's been an incredible leader for this team. And then you got Mitch Marner, right? Itchy for Mitchie. And I think that he's playing with that extra little edge, right? He's playing with that, I played in Toronto. I went through, postseason hell. Let's just call it what it is, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's here to make a difference and get his name on the cup. And I'll tell you, the way that these Golden Knights are playing right now, it's like their skates are on fire.
And look, we can laugh about Torts, but the reality is he is at the, he's on the verge of playing for a second Stanley Cup. And when you talk about a guy that's been at this since 99 now, John Tortorella at the age of 67 coming in to save the Vegas Golden Knights. I know. Coming in at the age of 67 to sort of save the Golden Knights season from a coaching standpoint, Sam. I mean, if they win this Stanley Cup with him behind the bench, he's got 2 Stanley Cups. Are we talking about a Hall of Fame head coach? In John Tortorella, if he wins a second cup and he does it with this, with this group that was basically left for dead at the end of the season. I mean, it'll be an interesting discussion. It's one I'd like to have with Dennis Bernstein the next time we have him on the show, because I think it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah, I can offer no insight. I don't know what the floor or the ceiling is like in terms of getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. Is it the Basketball Hall of Fame or is it the Football Hall of Fame? I don't know. Those are kind of the two, or I guess the Baseball Hall of Fame is the really hard one to get into. But those are like the kind of goalpost for me. I wonder where hockey fits in between all that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but looks like they'll be, they could very well be taking on the Canadians. Who have done a great job in that series against the Carolina Hurricanes. Here we thought we'd have Carolina and Colorado a fait accompli, and now you look and there's a possibility we've got Montreal and Las Vegas in the Stanley Cup final, Sam.
I would still be shocked if Montreal got out of this round. You watch the first 2 games of that series, and through game 1 and about a half, I might have been with you. I might have said, there's a chance that this Canadians team could have caught lightning in a bottle, 2 7-game series and then into this. But they kind of needed, especially like I just said, coming off of 14 games played already in the playoffs. Going into this series, you kind of need to win the first 2 to give yourself that comfortable cushion to where you can just kind of rest on your laurels and play through the rest of the series. They didn't do that. That overtime goal in game 2, I think, was the nail in the coffin. As silly as it sounds for the Montreal Canadiens, it's so hard to come back from that when you've played as much hockey as this team already has.
Game 3 of that series on Monday night in Montreal. That place will be up for grabs. With that series headed back to the other side of the border, the north side of the border. All right, we've got some conversation coming up, a little heavy on the Kyle Busch passing. We'll get to that coming up in a couple of minutes. Odds and ends a little later on in the show, and a whole bunch more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to this Monday Memorial Day edition of SportsWrap. We learned over the weekend what took the life of Kyle Busch, NASCAR icon, passing away on Thursday at the age of 41. His family putting out a statement saying it was pneumonia, which brought on sepsis. This all happened really rapidly, and I am fortunate enough to have somebody I could turn to in moments like this to lend some insights how something like this happens. Dr. Ben Wedro does a great job. Retired ER physician. Now he is writing about and teaching about medicine as well. Kind enough to give us some time on the show. And you're the first person I thought of when I saw this news come out over the weekend about how he had passed. And I actually had somebody reach out to me. Sam Yarnell, who sidekicks with me on the show, said his girlfriend, who just got through with some sort of medical school training, either physician's assistant or nurse, the first thing she thought of when she started to hear some of the details of this was sepsis. And it turns out that's what it was. So I turn to you in a moment like this and I say, how does a seemingly healthy 41-year-old go from winning a race, a week and a half ago to dead, a week or so later from something like this? How does this happen so rapidly?
Don't we wish we knew why stuff happened in medicine? It's like, why do people get sick and other people don't? So that's an existential question. We have no idea why he became ill in the first place. People get infections all the time. You go to the doctor, you go to the urgent care, the emergency department, you get antibiotics, you go home, life is good. But in a small percentage of people, and this is not to scare people, in a very tiny percentage of people, the body gets their immune system wrong, and it spirals downhill out of control. So the first question is, why did Kyle Busch get pneumonia? And the answer is, I don't know. Why do people get sick? And the second question is, does it matter how sick he got with pneumonia, or did something else kick in to cause him to be septic? So what sepsis means in my brain is there are two things. One is you get an infection somewhere in your body, whether it's on your skin, which is a cellulitis, an inflammation of the skin, or pneumonia, which is really pneumonitis, which is an inflammation of your lung. You can get infections of all sorts of things. And the body sort of walls it off, maybe needs some help with antibiotics, and then you get better. Sometimes, though, that infection can spread into the bloodstream, and that's called bacteremia. Bacteria plus emia is blood. And that's not a good thing, but, not the end of the world. But when you get septic, what has happened is your body has looked at that infection and said, oh, that's bad. We got to really, ramp up the immune system and get all those antibodies and stuff going. But it overreacts. And all of a sudden, not only does it start attacking the bacteria, it starts attacking all the other organs in the body. Ugh. And that's when you become septic, which is a bad thing.
Could pneumonia not present? Because the obvious question a lot of people are asking is, how did he not wind up at a doctor sooner? How did he not, how is this not at least starting to be treated before it got to this severe point where he's in a hospital and, within 24 hours he passes away? Could pneumonia be so subtle as to somebody just think they have a cold or a cough or something like that? Or did somebody miss something here and he should have been in a hospital sooner?
So, good question. When should you go see the doctor is what you're asking. And you should see the doctor when you're worried that something bad's happening. But you don't know if something's bad happening all the time. So the classic symptoms of pneumonia are cough, fever, shortness of breath. For an infection that's caused by a bacteria, you should probably cough up some sputum, and it should be colored sputum, sometimes rusty, classically, for a type of pneumonia called pneumococcal pneumonia. But pneumonia can be caused by a virus. And you just feel a little short of breath and cough, and you say, I'll be better in the morning. And some people aren't. People who are unhealthy, who are elderly, people who have immune system problems, people who have diabetes, some people who have kidney disease, whose bodies are not solid in the first place, are more at risk for getting sick quicker. Young, healthy people tend to fight pneumonia pretty well, and they show up at the doctor because they get a fever and the cough and they're feeling crappy. And so they go to be seen. And the most common thing that happens is the doctor takes a history, says, oh yeah. They listen to you. Sometimes you can hear the pneumonia with your stethoscope. You can hear sort of a rattly sound when you listen to the lungs. So instead of nice air flowing in and out, it doesn't sound right. You get a chest x-ray, you say, oh, there's some pneumonia. You make sure everything else is okay, that their vital signs, their pulse rate, and their blood pressure and their respiratory rate's normal. You usually don't need blood tests. put them on some antibiotics, they go home, life is good. Almost all pneumonias in the United States are treated as outpatients. Now, there's a caveat for that. People who have COVID pneumonia all get admitted. But the good news is that the mortality rate for COVID is reaching the same as the mortality rate for bacterial infection.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've learned a lot since the first days of COVID.
So let me ask you this. As a recently retired ER physician such as yourself, by the time somebody's coming into the ER at the point he's at, what's the mortality rate? Like, how difficult is it to save somebody once they're at that point where they're coughing up blood, and that sort of thing?
Okay, two separate questions.
Sure.
Let's do the last one first. Coughing up blood does not mean you have pneumonia necessarily.
Okay.
Coughing up blood can be a whole bunch of things, and it's not normal. But it could be something as simple as you've got bronchitis and you've coughed hard and you've broken a blood vessel that's leaked into the lung and you cough up some blood. It can happen as well because of inflammation of the blood vessels because of pneumonia. But other things that can cause it, which are not more worrying, but different worrisome, are things like tuberculosis can cause you to cough up blood. Cancer can cause you to cough up blood. So blood where it doesn't belong is not normal and should always be seen.
More with Dr. Wedro and a wild day in racing. That's next. All right, welcome back to the show. Talk about what happened at the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indy 500 in just a few minutes. But I wanted to wrap up my conversation with Dr. Ben Wedro, former recently retired ER doctor, somebody I often rely on when it comes to important medical information. And one of the questions being asked about the death of Kyle Busch was, could it have been avoided? How did we get to this point? So I wanted to follow up on that aspect of this story with Dr. Wedro. And in that moment, what can you do in an emergency situation? Because that's clearly what this was. What is the course of treatment to try and save that person?
Well, the first thing is to support the heart and lungs and blood pressure. So you need intravenous fluids. Step back. You need to make the diagnosis. Because if you don't make the diagnosis, then that's bad, because then you're starting way behind. So if you walk in the room to see the patient and you say, oh, this is bad, then you attack the patient with nurses and doctors and respiratory therapists. You start intravenous fluids. And most importantly, you start antibiotics immediately. You may not know exactly where the infection is. You may not know exactly what type of infection. So you use very broad spectrum antibiotics, things that kill everything. And then as you whittle down to where the infection is, and if you can get cultures of the blood to see what might be growing, then you can tailor the antibiotic specifically to that bug. You might need, if you can't get the blood pressure up with fluids, then you might need to use medications called pressors. And they cause the heart to beat more aggressively, causes blood vessels to narrow, so you can support the blood pressure and get blood flowing to the organs that are in need to try to recoup their function. But the big thing is, the three big things are: one, make the diagnosis or have high suspicion of it. Two, start fluids, and three, start antibiotics.
Ben, last question. What is the greatest, in all of these things, they call it the practice of medicine, they always say, because they're still practicing. That was the joke I heard once when I was in the hospital for a month. What is the greatest teachable moment to come out of this, if there is one? Because we always like to try and learn something off of something tragic like this. What is the greatest lesson to be learned from this?
Kyle Busch was surrounded by family. And I do not know the circumstances of how long he'd been sick but be an advocate for your family member. If you think they're sick and they're saying, and they go, oh, I'm fine, and you say, no, I really think you're sick. Convince them to seek care. And I know it's difficult, especially in the U.S. where it's expensive to go to the doctor. Healthcare is difficult. You're making a financial decision as well as a healthcare decision. If you're worried about your family member, don't say, well, he said he's going to be fine tomorrow, or we'll wait and see another day. Don't. If you're worried about your family member, stand up, be their advocate, have them be seen. So you don't have to go through the stuff that the Busch family's going through.
It just seems unconscionable for a 41-year-old to die from something like this. It blows my mind. I know it's blown the minds of a lot of people around the sports world and the NASCAR community. It just seems unthinkable for somebody that young. It really does.
People die all the time at different ages. And because Mr. Busch was a public figure, it upsets us more. Look around your community, read the obituaries, see how many people are dying at a young age, and remind yourself, we are a brother's keeper. If you see someone who needs help, make sure they get it.
Yeah. Well said. Dr. Ben Wedro, retired ER physician, now writing and teaching about medicine and teaching us. So we are grateful. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And again, our thoughts and prayers, our heartfelt condolences going out to Kyle Busch's family, his wife, his kids, his extended family, his NASCAR family on this terrible, terrible loss. All right, there was action on the track yesterday, and the story of the day, as much as it was Kyle Busch and remembering him, and that was done at both the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600, the action on the track, just as amazing. Daniel Suarez is your winner at a rain-shortened Coca-Cola 400. There was weather issues all day, both impacting the Indy 500 potentially, and then right down the road in Charlotte at the Coca-Cola 600. Daniel Suarez wins. 27 laps were remaining in the race when rain came. Suarez was leading at that point, and as a result, they don't finish the race. He gets the win. It's his first in a couple of years. He was a protege of Kyle Busch, so it was something that hit him hard after the race had concluded. But Daniel Suarez picks up the win again, as the weather was a big factor there at the end of that Coca-Cola 600, a wreck-filled Coca-Cola 600 as well. So congratulations to Daniel Suarez on the victory. The other big story of the day, obviously the Indy 500, and what a wild finish we had to that race. Felix Rosenqvist is your winner. His first Indy 500 win, just his second win in IndyCar. He gets past David Malukas in the final lap of the race and then is able to hang on for the victory. How about this? He won by 2/100ths of a second. I mean, you don't get any closer than that. It was one of the closest finishes in over 25 years, if I'm not mistaken, over at the Indy 500. So Rosenqvist wins. It's his first win on an oval as well. So that, is something that's pretty wild. And he gets to kiss the bricks, gets to sip the milk, and is your winner again at the Indy 500. All right, we're coming back. We got more to do on this Monday edition of the show. Odds and ends right around the corner. Sam will be back for that. Don't go anywhere. All right, just about time to say goodbye on this Memorial Day edition of the show. A couple of reminders before we go. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show. Available Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Great to listen to on your way to work. Maybe you're driving home on this Memorial Day. Got a long drive home. Doing that LA to Vegas drive, that 4-hour drive that I've done so many times. The podcast is great. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday, crystal clear audio. We encourage you to do so. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, available there. Extended conversations available there. We had the conversation with Dr. Ben Wedro today that you saw on the show. That was only about half of our conversation because there was so much more to talk about when it comes to pneumonia, sepsis. Is this something that everyday people need to be on the lookout for? If you're feeling like you have a cold, chest congestion, things like that, Dr. Ben Wedro helped us sort of analyze not just what happened with Kyle Busch, but how this affects everyday people. We have that in the podcast, also available on the YouTube channel. Also, SportsWrap Shorts, 1 to 3 minute long videos, vertical form, made for people on the go. Big stories break. We're there to help discuss them and break them down for you. SportsWrap Shorts also available on the YouTube channel. Also available on our TikTok, SportsWrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram by that same name, SportsWrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay, on this Memorial Day edition of SportsWrap, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Let's get to it. Jaxson Dart introducing Donald Trump at a rally in New York late last week. Abdul Carter taking umbrage with said introduction of Donald Trump from Jaxson Dart, posting this on the X, basically questioning what the heck Jaxson Dart was doing introducing Donald Trump. Now, he says things have been smoothed over and they've talked things over. There's been a lot of reaction on social media about this, Sam Yarnell, and it's this ever-continuing evolution or devolving of our discourse, but also of politics and sports sort of bleeding together, Sam.
All right, I'll make the joke. Yeah, he's the first, the president, first guy ever to miss a family member's wedding to watch Jaxson Dart. I mean,
yeah,
you left that one out there for me to make. Yeah, sorry, Giants fans. Whoops. This is weird. I don't know why we've gotten to the point where, I don't know. Like, so this is my immediate reaction, right? Gosh, this may not be great for the show.
Oh God!
If you're Jaxson Dart, if you're Jaxson Dart, like, how do you not think through this first? Like, maybe, I don't know, right? Jaxson Dart, spent time in college. What am I saying? No, he should be smart. He spent time in college. Brother, think this thing through. At least understand that if you're going to do something like this, it has the potential to make people upset.
Yeah.
I don't know, if I were a fan, right, as you are, if I were a fan of the team that man trotted out under center every week for, I would just think to myself, if you're thinking through plays on the gridiron with 300-pounders bearing down on you on a weekly basis, think through this a little bit.
I got two things.
Understand that, like, it has this potential, right? You don't just throw a ball downfield, not understanding it has the potential to get intercepted. You kind of have to think about life the same way sometimes.
I've got two things on this. One, Fernando Mendoza was supposed to go with Indiana, didn't. Decided to stay with his team, work out, show his commitment to the Raiders and what he's doing. He's only a year, 1 year more removed from college. He's not that much older, not that much younger rather than Jaxson Dart. That's point one. Two, if you don't think that there is going to be black teammates on your team that have felt aggrieved by this president and are having that reaction, first of all, Abdul Carter probably shouldn't have expressed it on social media. He should have said something to Jaxson Dart privately. I don't think he needed to say something publicly and blast him in the media. That being said, if Jaxson Dart isn't surprised about how this whole thing came about, then he clearly hasn't taken the temperature of the room that is America right now when it comes to why somebody could feel offended at the fact that you're introducing the President of the United States, one of the most divisive figures in the history of our politics. That's just that, rightly or wrongly, that is a reality. He is the most divisive figure that we have had in the history of our politics. No matter what side of this you're on, that will be where I have to leave it. And we're out of time. That's it for this Monday edition, this Memorial Day edition of Sports Wrap. Sam will be back tomorrow, as will I. Yes, you had one more thing you wanted to throw in?
Well, in case you all missed it out there, because I know Jason's itching to talk about it, Aaron Judge was 3 for 27 coming into Sunday, and then the Yankees were tied late in the game, and he walked him off. It was like 0-0, and he had a walk-off home run. So good for Aaron Judge.
Thank
you. Yankees still aren't in first place, though.
No, they're a long way out of it right now because the Rays are playing great baseball. Thank you to Dr. Ben Wedro and Jerry Bonkowski. We'll see you tomorrow.